What is going on, guys? SceptileMC here, coach of the San Francisco Arcaniners, here to bring you GBA Season 10 draft analysis. And today I'm joined by the assistant coach.
What is happening? It's me, Hayden.
The best intros in the world done by him at all times. So the draft is finally done. Me and Hayden have drafted probably the most heat team in GBA history, quite literally, because we have the two best fire types in the entire generation. And at the Arcaniners, we're known for flare blitzing, we're known for fire blasting. So of course, we had to draft the heat.
We'd be about that heat.
Yep. So we started off with obviously the GBA having an auction draft style as well as the snake draft. So the auction draft took place and we had to go through and do auctions for the S tier and the A tier Pokemon. We were allowed 2 S tier and 3 A tier, and we had 400 points to do so, I believe. And without further ado, I will let Hayden take the round on the first 2 Pokemon here, because we had a different plan, didn't we?
We sure did, but listen, I just went for it, okay? So here was the thought process. Chi-Yu was the first Pokemon that people were bidding on. We ended up getting it for $275, which is pretty expensive, but I really like Chi-Yu. I feel like in draft, this thing, it puts a lot of pressure on the opponent, right? Like Beads of Ruin, super nice. This thing's extremely fast, and that special attack is insane, base 135. Base 100 speed does really well against like everything. Put a Choice Scarf on it, and it literally outspeeds everything. And there's not a lot that can take a Fire Blast. So I really like Chi-Yu. It's banned from OU at this point. Extremely good mon. I have a lot of fun playing with Chi-Yu, so I figured it's a pretty dynamic mon to bring to draft. So initially we started with the Chi-Yu, and this thing kind of speaks for itself in terms of, you know, what this thing does in, you know, its kind of power. But the next mon that came after that was Volcarona. Now somebody put Volcarona up for 25 points, and it was literally about to go for the minimum, like literally for the price of like a Pachirisu. I was like, I'm not about to let that happen, so I bid on it last second, and we got ourselves a Volcarona. Now the thought process there is that we get 1 Terra Captain, and obviously you're looking at this team thinking 2 fire types in the S tier is a little bit strange, but as a Terra Captain, this Volcarona is pretty much not going to be fire type most of the time. And with Quiver Dance, I just feel like this thing has so much potential for sweeping pretty much anything. We can get a defensive Terra going, and Volcarona is another Pokemon that is banned from OU. Now granted, that's because of the fact that it has access to any Terra type. We get 2 in this draft league. But Volcarona, Amon, you put heavy duty boots on this thing, it doesn't care about Stealth Rocks. We got Terra Water for this thing, and honestly, I feel like with these 2 combined, Chi-Yu and Volcarona, we can get a lot of pressure. Like, people have to prep for 2 of the scariest fire types, and do they have answers for both? Probably not. So there's not a lot that can take Fire Blast from both of these, and that's kind of the thought process. It didn't go how planned, but I saw Volcarona going for literally the minimum, so I was like, I'm gonna snatch that. So
absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing there is when it first happened, we were definitely both thinking as well, like, okay, well, we just got a Chi-Yu and a Volcarona. So 2 very heavy fire types, but they are 2 of the best Pokemon in Gen 9 for a reason. And yeah, that is because of Terra. And we are only able to select 1 Terra Pokemon if we do an S-Class one, which we did, of course, do. We had to pick a Terra, and we did Volcarona with a Terra Water because of Volcarona as a Water type can pretty much play any role we want it to now. It's not restricted to just being a sweeper. It could be a bulky sweeper, it could be a spec set, a scarf set, it could be a specially defensive set. This thing has very, very good special defense, and could play a role as a bulky water. One of the things I love...
Also having that option of this thing being Terra Water, like, they can't really prep for that. Like, we could literally just not Terra Water this thing, but them knowing that our Volcarona runs Terra Water, like, it's gonna put some options on them to have to potentially, like, put a grass type in, or, you know, an electric type on Volcarona, expecting super effective damage. And if we don't go for that Terra, they were in a good spot, because with heavy duty boots we don't care about rocks anyway. So having that Terra in the back almost plays mind games in itself with Volcarona, because it's expected to Terra, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And then there's always the chance that we come out and we literally have a Chi-Yu over here with the Beads of Ruin ability going for Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Fire Blast. And then we bring in Volcarona only for them to realize we are Terra Fire and we're now firing Choice Specs Fire Blast from a Terra Fire Volcarona, and they don't have a counter to them anymore. So draft is very, very centralized on the building, and these two Pokemon here, we can almost guarantee that we know what at least 4 members of their team are going to be, because if they don't bring them, they're getting Fire Blast swept. And
exactly.
Yeah. And that's going to be the most fun part of this, because we are just going to be absolutely hammering people with the strongest fire moves we can.
That is the idea.
Yeah, and then going into the 3rd round pick, we decided to go with a Gyarados. Do you know what we drafted this for? Was it 50?
Yeah, it was actually really cheap. Yeah, we got it for 50.
And Gyarados fills such a great role on the team. I was always known for playing a little bit more of a bulky offense, and Gyarados really fits that playstyle very well. Great bulk, decent speed tier, amazing attack. The Spadef is phenomenal, and Intimidate, one of the best abilities in the game, as well as Moxie. So it can really be run as a plethora of different sets. Great special attack and move pool too. If that even comes into play, we'll see.
I really like Gyarados in draft just because, like you said, it can be so many different ways to run this thing, and it's very versatile to who we're playing. Plus, it fits on the team so far. As you're looking at the team, we got Chi-Yu, Volk, and then Gyarados. So it has good synergy already with the squad, and just puts another pressure on as a sweeper for Dragon Dance potential sets.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it could be a stall breaker as well if we have issues against Taunt, against Substitute. Just look at the move pool down here. It goes on and on for on. And I literally just learned that there's a move called Chilling Water, and it apparently lowers the attack by 1. So, nice job, George.
I don't think Gyarados is going to be looking at too much.
You don't want to bring a physically defensive Chilling Water Gyarados?
With Intimidate?
No damage done whatsoever. So, of course, we know we had a ground type a weakness, and kind of Gyarados can fit in the niche to it's immune to it, and we can kind of counter with it. But we definitely have a rocks weakness, whether it be stealth rocks or just stone edges in general. So what do? We draft something that does not resist rock. We draft a rock type, so other people can't bring it against us.
Yes, sir. And
the Garganacl, this Pokemon is incredibly bulky on that physically defensive side, and the specially defensive side is nothing to sleep at either. It brings us the stealth rocks that we need. I was doing research on Purifying Salt, and what is that move called? Salt Cure.
Salt Cure. This thing, it has great potential for draft because we can find a matchup on a physical attacker, literally Salt Cure him in. We could potentially set up like bulk up sets. It has a lot of iron defense. You can go crazy with this thing, and I feel like in draft, even though it doesn't have access to Terra into a different type, which is why this thing is an absolute menace, but it can still work really well against teams that are centralized around physical attackers and things like that our fire core has trouble with. I mean, we can at least this thing just does it obviously not going to do good against water types, but that's why we have the next mon, which is Amoonguss. But Garg is one of the most annoying. Literally, I hate this thing so much that we had to get it. So
I think that's the thing, and you'll see with our team right now, guys, is we drafted every mon that you don't want to play against that could Terra. You don't want to see a Terra Chi-Yu, you don't want to see a Terra Volk, you don't want to see a Terra Garen, you don't want to see a Terra Garg. And we got all 4 of them, and we can only pick one.
But it has a place in pretty much every one of our builds, I feel like, because it's such a good mon to be able to switch into anything, sponge up hits, lock stuff in with Salt Cure, just be annoying for the most part. And
it has reliable recovery as well, which I think is such an important part for such like a bulky Pokemon. Having recover and not having to rely on Resto, Chesto, or just protect and leftovers really, really helps.
Yeah, we definitely needed a longevity mon, and that's what this thing, it fills that role well.
Yeah, and the most important move in the game is a Stealth Rocks. So, which we don't care about Stealth Rocks, by the way. Don't think I fear Stealth Rocks. I don't. Volcarona, Chi-Yu, and Gyara, we do not fear rocks. We don't care.
We keep them boots on, baby.
We keep them boots on and we strap them on. We don't take them off. So just like Hayden said, yeah, so we are developing more of a water type weakness here, and we thought, Amoonguss, such a prevalent Pokemon since it came out in Gen 5, and has really been a mainstay in OU and in draft leagues since then. So it popped up for, what did we get it for, 25?
Yeah, super cheap. We got this thing for the minimum as well.
Yeah.
And guaranteed score is insane for our team. With just looking at Volcarona and Gyarados' potential to start to set up after a spore, it's extremely nice. Plus, this thing switches into everything that those two cannot take. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I really wanted the Amoonguss here.
Yeah, and I think it really, the Fire, Water, Grass core, of course, it kind of ties all that together, but also the ability to use Clear Smog. We can prevent our opponents setting up against us. A Stomping Tantrum is a great coverage move, and just overall, we know what Amoonguss does, but in draft, you're able to tailor it so well to fit your opponent because it has the stats to do it, and it has the typing to do it, and it has Regenerator. So if I need a set where it's just going to be 64 defense, 128, it's going to be max HP, and the rest is going to go into special attack, like, you will see these types of builds from Amoonguss in draft. And that's one of the most fun things to do in the format.
Yep. Yeah, this thing just pairs really well. With Regenerator, we could switch in Gyarados, Intimidate all day, back into Amoonguss. It's another mon that you do have to prep for. Like, this is one that it's going to put so much pressure. Like, okay, do we run, Chesto Berries, Lumberries for sleep? Like, it's one of those things where we're going to be taking they're going to have to allocate resources toward taking care of an Amoonguss. So.
Yeah, and no, exactly. And then looking at the team now, we definitely have a little bit of a speed thing. I knew I wanted to draft this Pokemon before we even ended up with our first 5, by the way, because now we're moving into the Snake draft. And it is a C tier Pokemon in the GBA, and you have the option of getting your B in the first round. We skipped over the B and we got Regieleki. Now, Regieleki has a speed tier of 200, fastest Pokemon in the game, and having a Pokemon that's this fast in draft, it puts such a constraint on the building because you need something that can at least outspeed or is bulky enough to take its hits, and nothing barring a ground type takes Regieleki's hits.
Yep, with that transistor ability, plus people are going to be forced to run a Choice Scarf as an answer for this thing. So again, it's another one of those mons that's like really centralizing. Obviously, this is a mon that it does extremely well when it has access to Ice Terra, but in draft it's not as big of a deal because we can prepare for their ground types in other ways, like knowing what they have, and if they have a matchup where maybe Regieleki doesn't look great, we don't bring it, but it works really well as just an extremely fast pivot. Like, that Volt Switch hits super hard, especially you throw a Life Orb on this thing, Specs, like even a fast Volt Switch into you literally lead Specs Volt switch into a Gyarados if it's something that might have a move on Eleki. It works so well with the team. Like, literally just having that pivot option as the fastest possible pivot option, not even running a timid nature, is pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, exactly. This thing, like the base speed stat, I love being able to run speed to outspeed certain mons, but then still be able to have the modest nature. I know this thing, even if you run like a physical spread, because it gets explosion, it gets extreme speed. And yes, I did find out after drafting it got rapid spin. So what? There you go. We got rocks covered because now Regieleki's gonna spin them away. So I think this Pokemon it's really going to be great for cleaning up, preventing sweeps, because even mons at +1 speed, they're not going to be able to outspeed it at max speed. And if we're really fearful of a fast mon, we run Timid, and then you will not be outspeeding it.
Yeah, it works really well to be able to pick things off, right? Like, we can literally let Chi-Yu, Volcarona, things like Garg chip things down, and then once they get in range to literally dying to a Thunderbolt, it's over.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it has a cool move called a Thunder Cage, which looks like Fire Spin. No, it's like Magma Storm, right?
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Nice.
That's actually an interesting.
Nice, a fun tech to do. And right here is the remainder of the team that we drafted. So coming into the 7th round, we decided to draft our first Beamon, and we had a choice. And me and Hayden actually talked about this for a good while before making this pick, and to see what direction we wanted the team to go. Do we want to keep going on that offensive spree and really making sure that no matter what, we have something that will break a team? Or do we want to kind of tone it down and we want it maybe something a little more balanced? So, of course, we went with the hyper offense option. And we decided to go with Hawlucha. And obviously, Hawlucha's followed by the Rillaboom.
Yeah, so these next two, this was an idea of mine. I really like this in draft because honestly, Hawlucha with its Unburden ability is extremely nice. The problem is setting it up. But if you have a guy like Rillaboom, we can obviously just set up grassy terrain and then pop in grassy seed on the Hawlucha, instantly give us Unburden plus the defense boost that comes from that grassy terrain. Plus we get the recovery with it. But this is one that like another combo that you kind of have to prep for. Like if you don't have anything that is faster than Unburden Hawlucha, which there's not going to be a lot, it's gonna do a lot of damage. Plus then you get acrobatics boosted after using the grassy seed. So it's just a combo that like it works so well that honestly, even with the extra bulk you get from that grassy seed, you can literally set up a Swords Dance, and that is insane. I mean, you could go bulk up, you could go Swords Dance, but after a Swords Dance, if there's not something that resists acrobatics, like we just literally outspeed and kill everything. So
yeah, no, exactly.
Really
and it as well, I mean, it does get defog. We don't fear rocks, but it does get defog, so we have another option if we need to. If we want to take off the boots once in a while, we can. But this thing as well, I mean, it could be run as a Choice Banded set. It could be Choice Scarfed if we really need to outspeed something, but the Regieleki is not a good fit for that matchup. It has U-turn, access to Taunt and Roost, so it has recovery. It could even be a bulky spread, and we could run it more as a wall with the Roost, and then with just running more of a bulky investment. So it has a is Baton Pass legal? Do we know that? I doubt it.
I don't know about in this league.
I doubt it. But I'm gonna assume it's not. But yeah, I just saw that move, and I get happy when I see that.
It's extremely fast, and literally, a close combat plus acrobatics dual stab on that is extremely nice. And if you get a Swords Dance up, you outspeed everything and kill it. So that's kind of the idea with the Hawlucha. It's again one of those things that just puts so much pressure on opponents' team building that it's like if they don't have something for the Hawlucha combo, after Unburden.
No, exactly. And then right after we got it, we were at the end of the snake, so we knew we would pretty much be guaranteed to get a Rillaboom with the Grassy Surge, really supporting it. And then the Grassy Surge as well to set up the terrain really helps the team on the ground weakness as well as recovery. So if we're running heavy duty boots on Volcarona, we could be getting more of the leftovers recovery. We're not going to take as much from Earthquakes. The Chi won't take as much from Earthquakes. Regieleki won't take so much from Earthquakes. The Garganacl won't take so much from Earthquakes. The list goes on.
And it has fake out. It has fake out for us. It's got a good knockoff. It also has things like Trailblaze that could be kind of interesting. Get that +1 speed. Woodhammer's hurt. It also has a pivot with the U-turns. This thing I imagine more of kind of a fake out U-turn, kind of get grassy train up and try to get stuff going. But Rillaboom, decently bulky mon that actually we needed an ice grass type, so it works well.
Yeah, and it has a lot of utility on here. It has a lot of coverage. It has a lot of utility moves, access to U-turn. It can sweep on its own with Swords Dance. You can do a sub-leech seed set. Like Hayden said, has fake out. So there's a lot of options here, and you always want... I know we have Pokemon that kind of do one-dimensional things, but those Pokemon do it so well. Having a Pokemon like a Rillaboom in the back to support in like any way possible is great.
Yep, for sure.
And then moving on from there, we decided to draft Tinkaton. We really needed a Steel type. We really needed a Fairy type, and we got one of the best budget Pokemon, I think.
I really like this pick because it can do so many different things. This thing can go offensive. It can be Stealth Rock, Encore, literally dual screens with Light Clay. It can Thunder Wave things. It's just another Stealth Rocker, which I think we need another option for that if Garg doesn't look great for us.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, super good mon that can definitely stir things up. I just really like this thing's ability to go dual screens, things like that. Thunder Wave's super nice. A lot of what our strategies might be based around would be kind of crippling opponents' teams to the point where Chi-Yu and Volcarona and the more hyper offensive sweepers can kind of do their thing after getting him weakened down a little bit, especially with statuses and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just like Tinkaton. It can go so many different ways, right? Like people, it potentially could literally just be all out attack. Gigaton Hammer hits really hard, even with its low base attack. But I feel like a lot of the time this thing just works really well as a utility.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it really fits the team. The typing fits what we need. The bulk is decent. It can tank hits, especially on the special side. It's surprisingly quick. And that Reflect Light screen with the Thunder Wave, the Stealth Rocks, Ice Hammer, Gigaton Hammer, it has, again, so much utility that when you see it, you don't know what it's actually going to bring. And I think that's kind of what we were going for in these last few picks. And we'll take it to the very last Mon. Now, I did leave a poll in the GBA a fan server asking who was the best Pokemon in the D tier, and I put up 4 Pokemon, and the fans selected Rotom.
Yeah, I love Rotom. Honestly, this thing, it's a good spin blocker, right? It's again, another Mon that can paralyze things. It also has access to Will-O-Wisp, which is super nice. Another Volt Switcher with decent speed. And relatively bulky. You put some bulk into this thing, especially with that, pair that with the Will-O-Wisp, and it can be, I think it's a really good value pick, honestly.
Yeah, and it did round off the draft with us only having 10 Pokemon instead of 11. But Rotom, for me, I've used it in GBA Season 5. And it having 3 immunities, at the time, it did have Pain Split as well. It's since lost Pain Split. But being able to spam the Volt Switch, the Will-O-Wisp, and having Trick, it can be Thunder Wave, it can have the Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, you can run Nasty Plot set now. It has access to Light Screen as well as Reflect. This Mon is a menace, and it gives people a lot of headaches, because for its spread, it's not bulky, it's not that strong, it's not that fast, but it is so annoying. And I love to play with it because people always have to predict around it. And if you have to predict around it, that means you can make mistakes. And if you can make mistakes, that means we can win games.
Yes, sir. The typing is just so fun on this thing as well.
Yeah, Electric Ghost. I think we needed something as well that could another resistance to ground type. So able to have a couple immunities on there, maybe deter people from bringing it. Also, it pairs well with Regieleki because they have a similar type of counter, but Rotom will be able to chip away at that counter more than Regieleki can. So getting something down to 40% with Shadow Balls and then paralyzing it so that Regieleki comes in and finishes it with Swift or Terra Blast, and then we Thunderbolt the rest of the team and win.
Yep, exactly.
So, all right, guys, that is going to be the San Francisco Arcaniners team for GBA Season 10. So that is all 10 Pokemon right there. You'll see it on your screen. To cap it off, we have the Chi-Yu, the Volcarona, the Gyarados, the Garganacl. We have the Amoonguss, the Regieleki, the Hawlucha, the Rillaboom, the Tinkaton, and the Rotom. And our Terra captain this season is going to be the Volcarona with Terra Water and Terra Fire. However, the captain of the team is going to be the Goldfish. So captain is going to be Chi-Yu, living up to previous captains in other seasons like Nidoqueen, Igudra, and Mew. So, going off that, guys, Hayden, do you have anything else to say to the people?
Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. All right, guys, well, that's going to be the end of the video. If you enjoyed, please comment, like, rate, and subscribe. Please go check out Hayden's channel. He's really helping me out with this, so I would greatly appreciate it. And let's have a really exciting, but also entertaining GBA Season 10. Let's go Arcaniners Nation. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.